Well, right. Then we're through with the digital and economy part, and now let's switch to the lyrics, and that's the foundation of what the internet rests on. And you heard about the term like internet or something, G task force, and unfortunately not much from our region, but there are certain Russian-speaking entities that are staying there for years and they achieve results. And Alexey Melnikov has taken the floor, and he has been working quite a bit for IETF and IETF, and in different positions as a co-chairman of work groups and co-director and so on. And we would like to ask him to talk about the IETF vision on as to internet development. Hi all, dear ladies and gentlemen. I will speak about the pure and magnificent mini IT technologies, and hopefully my IETF story will probably include the goals of IETF and how it's structured and how they are improving their performances. Very briefly about me, and I'm a Lomonosov University graduate from programming faculty, and I've been an active IETF participant, electronic discussion and digital discussions since 1998. And I've published 40 cents RFC papers, and that's IETF publications. And for 2 years, I was an application area director, and I ran one of the areas, and I also ran a few work groups. And for the time being, I'm a programmer for ISO and also standard specialist. Just briefly. I got quite a bit of slides, so I will not spend too much time. I'll try to pop through them real quick. And what is IETF and how it is built up, and how to participate in it, and I'll cite a number of examples of work groups that may potentially be interesting to the people in here. And that's a pretty specific choice that I consider interesting. There's plenty of other work groups worthy of your attention. IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, is an organization on standardization dealing with internet standards, consensus-based, and the IETF mission is the setting up of good quality specifications by means of which the management and work in the internet will potentially become better, and IETF will publish these standards and also information documents and documents on improvement of best practices, of current practices. So the documents are not pretty standard documents published, but that's pretty much of a current vision about the fact how to better use IETF standards. This slide shows you some examples of protocols, IETF protocols. So, the internet is resting on them, and that's TCP/IP, email, routing, DNS, web, voice over IP, and many others. Well, now, how does IETF work? IETF are making pretty good quality documents, and many people ask themselves a question: why is it happening like that? So, but nobody wasn't sure about the right answer. But there's some notions coming up, and so IETF does not have any membership by country, by organizations, to any person, any individual. May potentially take an interest in any topic and become its participant. Decisions are made consensus-based. So, in other words, There is no balloting about what particular option is better or worse, and the people come up with their arguments, with their technical arguments as a rule, and based on that, they make their decisions. Another interesting point is that if there is a number of different potential solutions to the problem, then the options having that are practical within a working program code, then they are more hefty. IETF is divided into areas. Every area specialized in a particular thing, like safety, security, application of protocols, transport and routing, and every area has a lot of work groups. And every work group has a mailing list. And when it comes to subscribing to, I just mean that any person might go on a website and get registered and send them an email to a certain address and become a member of the mailing list. For the most part, the work is provided via email, sometimes by messaging or Java, and 3 times a year there are personal conferences in person in many countries and continents, America, Asia. But even during those conferences, remote access is of course possible.
One of the interest aspects is all working versions of documents are accessible to all and accessible free, so you can visit the website and download a document. Very often, as many organizations standards have been adopted, and they start to improve it, and some bugs are found. The IFT is very often in reviewing its own standards, just based on the use of it in software. Just a bit about the indicators of IETF. Each conference just is attended by 1,500 persons. For example, during the Berlin IETF conference held last July, 62 countries were represented. In the mailing list, there are more people, about 120 working groups at the IFTV. On average, they have 2 co-chairpersons. IETF is divided into 8 areas, and there are 15 area directors. In one area, there is just one area director, and the remaining have 2 co-directors, and over 7,000 RFC have been published on. You can see in the diagram the number of representatives from different countries from the recent Berlin IFT conference. It's a rather interesting chart on the representation. How many documents have been published by representatives of different countries as to the allocation of these representatives? You can see that the US, China, as well as other European countries are leading ones in this. Of course, it is able to change these dynamics and to see more countries from the Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. And very briefly, how the process is arranged. First, an idea appears. An idea is described just in the internet draft initiating document. Then it is submitted to the consideration of a working group. Discussion is organized. The document is upgraded several times, and then this last call is being made within the working group. It's an invitation for all members of the working group to read it, to submit remarks, and to say whether it is ready for the final approval. And then it's submitted to the IFG. IEG is a committee which manages working groups and takes decisions on publication of different documents. Then the document is submitted to IETF, the last call, when all people, not just they have not actively been discussing it at working groups. If everything is okay, IFG will consider the document, may present its additional comments. When these comments will be satisfied, the document is to be published, and in several months, RFC appears. In this slide, a lot of text was contained before. No, interesting. If you want, if you have some idea on just on the substance of the issues of the working group, first you need to check whether it complies with the statute of the working group or the WG chapter. If then you need to ask the chairpersons of the group whether they agree to that. Afterwards, the document is sent to be included into the list of working documents of the WG. And before you do it, read RFC 5378. That's IP and copyright. Your document will be named in this way: draft, just like your name, and then ask comments about your documents in the mailing list of the working group. If you can come to the conference, ask time for the presentation. Also, answer comments in a constructive way. Just if you do not agree with some arguments, explain why you do not agree. And just also include it into a new version of your document. After that, you may ask to include it into the document list of the WG. Not always ideas are related to some existing operating working groups. These are quite new, might be quite new protocols, new ideas, and certainly new work can be initiated at the IETF. For that, you need to pass several stages. First, you should be sure that it is not only you, but there are also other people who are interested in that, who would agree to read your document, and there are people who would also assist and edit it. And the first stage, that's the birds of feather. There's a session just that you check that there is some interest to it, that there is a need for it. No one would object the necessity of this work. Sometimes this idea pops up at the IIT several times, but it turns out that it is a bad idea. The people agreed to come to the session of the Birds of a Feather to explain why it is the case. If the Birds of a Feather has passed successfully, then you need to draw a draft of the charter for the group to send it to the area director, and then the creation of a working group will be approved by the ISG, and if it goes successfully, a new mailing list has been established, and during the conference you can get time to discuss the document. This slide shows groups at present, how they are allocated by different areas. You can find it on a website itself. I'm mainly involved and interested in applications and security areas. Therefore, I have made this something, a brief overview of some working groups, to which I pertain some slight interest, and mostly related to these areas. One of the new interesting projects in the working group HTTPBs, well, it is already for several years finalizing the protocols. They already swear that we'll finish it, but in parallel with that, a new effort has been started on HTTP/2.0. The essence, that the semantics of the queries and answers will be the same as HTTP 1.1, but the format will be quite different, and the protocol will be more capable. In particular, now, if with the HTTP/1. You send a query, get the answer, then it all goes in certain succession. It's not possible to send mail requests and responses parallelly. Now that actually by one TCP connection to send multiple requests and responses, there is a form of compression of headers, because there is a lot of information which is repeated very often. There is an ability to prioritize requests, as well as this, if a server knows that after some request the customer will ask for other resources associated with this request, for example, web page, or there are some pictures, then it can send a request to the customer before accepting the request. The other working group, that's QR Sync IMAP, aimed to minimize the traffic. When resynchronizing mailbox changes, as an example, if you have too many letters in your mailbox, that is, for example, your letters, the session of the feather, your letters have been sent. You have many letters, for example. For example, I have 40,000 letters in my mailbox. The principal protocol does not allow to get what were the changes in the mailbox. You need to download all information about what letters were read and what letters were not read. For example, if in a mailbox there are 46,000 letters, a standard protocol will require about 2 megabytes of data to read it. By means of this application, only 135 kilobytes will be required. I have very many slides yet to be demonstrated. Very briefly, there are several working groups related to anti-spam and examples of the SPF documents upgrading. Also, this working group is finishing its work. Before that, they published a document comparing to what extent SPF and SRRD that was rather popular about 5 years ago, and showing that SPF actually is more popular and there are no deficiencies. There is no major difference to give preference to one comparison over the another one. Another working group related also to that is involved in reputation. After SPF and ODKIM applied to email letters, one should understand the senders of letters. What is the reputation of a sender? Whether it is known as spammer or not, and this working group it tries to apply it to web pages. They have published for document format, architecture, a protocol of requests, and just and a format of responses have it to be extended. IETF very often works in the field of international relation. In 2010, they completed the work on internationalization domain names. This year, they completed the work on internationalized mail. Now these addresses might be in this Cyrillic, and also an effort is continued on algorithms for string comparison, as email addresses are very often used as logins in protocols. Then, for example, sometimes it is required to understand a login just and capitalized register. Is this very same login or not? Yet another very active working group at the IETF is DANE, which is involved DNS-based authentication of named entities. It is based on the operation of the DNS set and enables applications to describe that some servers should use some certain certificates, or certificates should have been issued by some specific certificate authority, but not a random one, but also allows to publish self-publish certificates and enable us to delegate services. For example, if some company to provide services for some another organization, then they enables to accomplish that. This is a brief example how DN entries look for us. At present, DN works with a couple of documents. How to use DN for the protection between the interdomain sending of letters, and also some implementations have been made. This is an example how delegating will look like if domain example.com, that another domain would manage the email on its behalf. A rather interesting discussion is going on in the group of TLS. Since recently, a lot of information appeared how scripts are used for the access to the bank secrets and to the commercial secrets, how they easily hacked us. There is a lot of discussion going on what scripts are reliable. In particular, HC4 turns out to be rather reliable. There is a discussion on its prohibition, and they have how to use TLS safely and what other scripts can be applied in future for TLS to be safe. Also, an effort has been started on TLS 1.3. Now it's in the stage of discussion. Discussion requirements. A lot is being discussed on how to speed up the use of TLS, as very often it is used in the cell networks, in the mobile networks, and any round trip, any delay costs money. For this reason, there is a desire to speed up the process. Also, discussion goes on how to protect data, how to hide what extensions are used. I can finish my presentation at any moment. I hope I didn't quite bring you to sleep. I hope that I managed to convince you a bit the IETF improves the internet functioning. Well, the success of that depends on the involvement of people. Very important is the opinion of the operators as they use softwares. They exercise monitoring over the networks. This information is not always available for the protocol developers. Please join and participate. You get more information at www.iet.org. Alexey, thanks a lot. It was not just not inhuman to speak that you would speak in Russian. If you speak in English, you would present more. I have two questions. One is a simple one, and the other one is more joyful. We'll start with a simpler question. The question is simple: a trend, indeed. This situation with the development of the RFC beyond the RTF community. Because at present, ICAM has becoming the ICAM, not the community, has started to devise a range of RFC with a claim as making them obligatory standards within the scope of activity related to ICAM. Basically, it looks just rather it's a commercial activity ICAM, and actually a standard of a commercial company de facto is passed through just unilaterally, and then does like RFC what of recommendation are used for the substantiation of the activities of a commercial company. What do you think about that approach? I'll recall there are many things that have not been standardized, are thus included into the contracts that specified as standards under as this RPM of this HTM. What else we can expect? Or it'll become a standard practice. Before that, issues popped up. The Danny MacPherson raised this question considering when standards drops of technology were devised behind the IETF, and then they already had under the auspices of a working group. What will be the future? A very good question. Not very easy one. It's the simplest, the easiest question, I said. As a matter of fact, ISG, in that time when I was just there and I communicate with its new members, are very negative when people come with ready-made documents and simply try to push them through. There's a question. There appears a question. Who is in control of documents? Is there any work useful that IETF can perform? In IETF is nothing to execute. What is then the what is the meaning then of bringing a document? What is the sense of bringing a document? If there are problems, probably it's just there is a need to discuss the matter with area directors. That's the interesting question for the entire community. I'm surprised that some initiatives are being eaten up. Based on that, I come to the second question. Though they are eaten up with a very small criticism at present. By the way, just to oppose the opinion with regards to the majority in the DL, which are just which 6 or 8 members. This is also a problem which has been aggregated at the moment. The second question, very simple. 6 months ago, I would discuss the issue of diversity on the gender, but over that 6 recent years, a lot has passed. As a matter of fact, what the question was raised in the media on the responsibility of that, whether an organization on standardization is used on creating bugs into technologies. And Vancouver organized different discussion groups, how to treat, how to approach. It's not a major secret that some activists, active participants of the agile, have been defined under NSA or DHS, and their works they will get it up. By the way, the previous question related with to technologies funded. That's what MSA's DNS. How to treat it? How to have to help? In any case, everybody tries to be politically correct and to avoid answers, not to blame colleagues. Okay, so I treat it peacefully. Guys, we work under the contract. Why? Why not? We would work on it only if the government is ready for the development of some software technology. But the question is simple: what next? Because the level of trust is fallen. For example, just it's not the matter of cryptography, because some developments, HTTP 2.0, so the content block is not possible in intended. But on the other hand, the bugs, one cryptographic algorithm into a protocol, as a matter of fact, diluted smoothly crawling architecture not known as to TPI. With all this, in that relation, how to approach it to this pool when the majority prevails? Any objection or criticism in this film is being shouted out, and you make just simply crazy person out of for example, myself. We should discuss it separately after that. Every time it goes the same way. Probably I'll find to whom to complain. Steve Kropker complained, excuse me, just to the advisor to the Russian president that I create problem. But still, I remain in this position. The first aspect regards that MSA pays money to several contractors. It's indeed a sad thing that because these people are professionals, good professionals. By the way, with strong moral principles and just stay for quite a lengthy period in the management. As a matter of fact, they are but the results will go into the hands of ICAM, where the situation with the moral principles is quite worse. Well, it looks like a question whether we to blame the inventor of an atomic bomb. They treat it different ways. The other questions from the audience, because there is one person to put a question. My question is, there is an opinion, as it seems to me, probably quite not substantiated in the NFTF. There is a vendors lobby, which puts into not the "Make Internet Better" slogan, but particular indicators in revenues. Is not a compromising thing for the idea? And if it is so, how it is planned to fight that and to improve the reputation? There appears such an opinion, but with regards to some working groups, it's my personal opinion, because if I speak about those people who work with email. There is a particular, specific lobby, but of different character. I do not hear you. I would like to I just observe activities I make. That's anti-vendor lobby, because much has been done in the proprietary protocols. Microsoft ActiveSync has been rewritten from Clear, quite so. As I go to the Bachevsky-Alcom, as has been discussed, the thing is when vendors sent 200 individuals to such meetings, it didn't raise any results. Some immunity has been already developed in that regard. Usually, directors are intervening; they are aware of the situation. I don't know whether I need some particular means of struggle. If they will be informed of them, they'll take all possible measures for that not to go on. Just not a question, but just Dima has a bit just trying to darken the colors, trying to the fires. When there were requests just to include in the protocols on a wiretape, IETF indeed responded and just refused to include such requirements. Protocols are rather transparent. They can be quite better than open source to check for the presence of some bugs. To put it bluntly, of course there are some are just disruptions. Although with the FTL, everyone participates as an individual, not as a representative of some company or organization. Certainly, one can only buy to win by the volume. But there are in the process at the IETF, they allow such twists to notice and discuss and probably correct them. This is the transparency of the structure, and the consensus enable, if something appears of that kind, to discuss it and to try to find a way out from the situation. I'll remind that 6 months ago, I wouldn't say about anything trends, some other things. It's interesting how the IFTL response, because it provides all protection mechanisms. That's whitehouse.gov, UG, IPR, copyright strategy for the year 2020 gives a clear instruction to implement specific functions on ATI through ICANN to implement some mechanism. I would be interested what will be the outcome of that. While I just raise this question. By the way, another example on protocol agility, the flexibility of the protocols with regards to some algorithm. But Dima, you have stood behind it, DNSL. There is an opportunity to including DNSSEC not only protocols of RSL and also the GHOST stage down. Thanks more to Ed Lewis and to his agility. As for the NSAC, it was to develop to support the hierarchical structural. In reality, developers just constructed with some routes, it only let it have only one route. As with regards to the other one, probably not all just respond properly to the abbreviation TA, Destination Telecommunication Agents. That's the ministry department, US department. And the state contractor that has a contract with VeriSign, master zone DNSS, and the YANA function in the YANA operator with ICANN. Are there any other questions? Thank you for this presentation. I have two questions. The first question: what are statistics collected of how many people with no enterprise emails? For example, it's a very very often this question is put how SNL.com, Red Hat, and so on. A good question. I don't know. As a matter of fact, this has been discussed rather heavily rather gmail.com. Half of them are contractors, half of them work for the Cisco and so on, in a very difficult way. But I can ask a person. There is such a statistics collected. It's rather interesting. Your attitude to A2 with CE2 with ITU, and what is done for this twisting not to happen, and what is your vision of a bit different, a bit strange mindful process? I was saying that about YouTube. That'll be what I think about YouTube. I will be dismissed. Thank you. Other questions, comments? Alexey, thank you.